Hi, everyone. Welcome in to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. I'm Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my good pal, John Taylor. John, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Josh. I'm doing great. Summer.
Are you doing
well,
great?
Yeah, summer is here. Sports are happening. None of the ones I care about in any sort of meaningful way, but they're happening. The sports are happening.
This was the slowest week of the year in terms of sports or sports we care about. Although, by the time that you're hearing this on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, baseball is back. Brewers are playing baseball again, so thank the Lord for that. But looking at the things that happened this week, to be honest with you, John, in comparison to past All-Star weeks, I feel like there was still some news, a little bit of news, some things that we could touch on and keep ourselves engaged more than just doing like the what's your Mount Rushmore of this, of potato salads or,
Do you want to do that real quick, or
relying on that for
we can pivot
content? Yeah, I'm really surprised actually that wasn't like the top topic that came up during the week. No, I want to get into what happened on Wednesday. Essentially that it was the day after the All-Star break, which we will get to, but the bigger thing was, listen, the All-Star break did not highlight the Brewers at all. The Brewers were not a part of it, so we'll still talk about it, but because it was like the only thing going on. But after the All-Star break, the Brewers made moves. John, we were waiting for moves of some significance. What were they going to do? Were they going to get a bat? Were they going to get starting rotation pitcher? Were they going to get a bullpen pitcher? They made a move with the Astros. What did they end up doing?
Well, Josh, the Brewers traded what we later learned, the final piece we learned that the Brewers traded outfielder Jaden Fielder to the Houston Astros for right-handed pitcher Lance McCullers Jr., World Series winner with those Astros, left-handed pitcher Colton Gordon, and cash. So a deal that broke in several ways. I think originally on Wednesday it broke that we were just getting these and there was really not much being discussed. And then we slowly learned it's like, it might just be for cash. They might just be eating this contract for the Astros. That's pretty awesome. And then later in the day, I want to say about 4 hours after it broke, Jaden Fielder was attached to that package as well, with Bob Nightingale reporting way later into the evening that the Brewers are only on the hook for $2.5 million of that $17 million remaining part of that contract. McCullers is in his final year, so truly that rental piece. So,
and a lot of Brewers fans going, okay, so you paid $2.5 million for a rental piece out of the bullpen, who also hasn't pitched a whole lot. He missed the last couple seasons due to injury, and he has, I believe, like 30 to 40 some innings through the season. Is that correct? Something around there?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the point being is that there's definitely a side of this that makes you scratch your head and go, what? Why? However, if we can't put faith in Matt Arnold, who can we put faith in?
Yeah, it's a bright idea. That's why the lights just turned on in my head as you were talking. My apologies to YouTube. Yeah, I agree. I'd feel more nervous about this trade if the Brewers didn't do almost this exact same trade last year when they acquired an aging hurt Jordan Montgomery. They took on a contract and ate some money to help the Diamondbacks shed that contract and took on a Shelby Miller, who didn't necessarily end up working out in a Brewers uniform. But there is a precedent of Matt Arnold going out there and grabbing old contracts teams are wanting to get rid of and packaging it with a prospect or a pitcher that they think they can continue to develop. Obviously, Shelby Miller ended up getting hurt. He ended up needing Tommy John, so that kind of went by. He got hurt and it turned into a situation that obviously didn't work out the way the Brewers happened. But such is life, and say la vie. But I kind of view that similarly with this one. I think if McCullers can come back and give you some solid veteran poise on the back of the starting rotation, I think that would help. Kyle Harrison's hurt. They're managing Jacob Mizorowski. They're dealing with Woodruff probably maybe needing to get surgery and not pitching for the rest of the season. So when you start looking at it, I mean, McCullers has only pitched 8. I got his baseball reference page up. He's only pitched 8 games this season, and his, ERA currently is sitting at just shy of 7 with a -1 WAR. But if anybody can fix that, I think it's the Brewers. And I think there's a pedigree with McCullers that I think you can see why the Brewers might want to take a swing on that guy.
Well, I also heard from people that either think they know more than me or do know more than me on social media that he was just that contract that they were going to take off, but that he wasn't the main piece. They were saying, we'll help you with this contract, but you're going to give us Gordon. And that Gordon was the main piece that the Brewers were looking for in this trade, which I'm going, okay, in my opinion, look, you got two guys, you got 2 arms, right? And that's really the piece of this that I think we need to focus on, is that I am completely in the mindset that the Brewers are trying to coast. They're trying to coast through the second half as much as they can. And yes, I know I say second half. It's not technically the second half. It's past that, blah, blah, blah. I consider the All-Star break
spiritually the second half of the season. Absolutely.
And so I look at this and I go, yeah, they are slow playing any minor injury with Miz, with Harrison. They're trying to, we don't have any imaging necessary, but we're just making the decision to not have this guy on the next couple starts. Yeah, because they're trying to essentially do exactly what the Dodgers did last year. Get to a point to where you can make it and then come back at full strength. Don't wear your guys out that you're going to need in October. Well, if they're going to do that and they're going to play that way, they need someone out there. So if this is a role that they can do and you can get innings from these guys, great. The only way that I don't see this helping the Brewers in any way, shape, or form is if he's not ready to go, if the injury concerns with him are still there. If that's the case, then I'll continue to scratch my head and say, Matt Arnold, what were you doing on this one? But otherwise, I'm going, Matt Arnold has a plan. My belief, my guess is that plan is we need to give our rotation a rest, a break. We need help in the bullpen as it is. Let's take a flyer on a couple of these guys.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, realistically, you're talking about Colton Gordon. If we're assuming he's the centerpiece, I think it is a little different because I think if you can get Lance McCullers healthy, I think he has a place on the playoff roster. So to just view him as a full salary dump, I think is doing a disservice to the type of pitcher he can be if he's healthy. And I know that he hasn't been able to put that together, but at some point, why would you ever assume the Brewers can't at least get him to a serviceable level, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he can get to the back end of the rotation and hold it down, a la Jose Quintana or who's the guy they got from the Reds? They traded Joey Weimer for. I always forget his name. Frankie Montas.
Yes,
There it is. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if he could be somebody like that, where you're going like, oh, he's actually pitching in a 3-game series because of just veteran leadership. If I can watch, I don't know if you know this lore, he's the guy that threw 27 changeups in a row in the World Series, which is pretty cool.
Oh, interesting. I did not.
Yeah, so there's some fun little lore there. So if we can have him do that again with us, I think it's a great idea. But at the end of the day, people that I know who are smarter than me with baseball are saying things like, and former friend of the program, Andrew Snyder, are just saying, a controllable rando and a down bad former stud for a non-prospect is fine AF, are his words. And that's how I view it. There's 1 year. There's a well said, Andrew. There's a 1 year to dox our private direct messages. It's 1 year option on Colton Gordon, and then 5 years of control after that. So you're getting somebody into the mix that you think you can fix. I do want to talk about him. He is not your normal profile that you really see the Brewers going after in young pitching. His velocity on his fastball is only 91 miles per hour. But he has really great extension, something that I think Brewers fans have learned a ton about now that they watch Jacob Mizorowski pitch. I mean, He's so tall and so long that he has such a fantastic extension, but it's same idea, pitch angle or arm angle extension, where you're throwing on the plate. These are all ways to help deceive hitters as you're throwing. And he's got really great command. To be fair, not the best start. He's got 14 appearances in the Astros organization. He's played one MLB game where his ERA was 11.5, and then 13 starts in AAA, which is 3.69 ERA. So, when you talk about somebody that you're acquiring that you go, this is the piece, it might be the piece, but it might not be a piece that even helps this year. I think it truly is this idea that, like, I'm not exactly certain the trade market is going to break the way teams are expecting. Like, for how high profile Tariq Skubal is, and I'm going to forget his name, the pitcher from the Twins that everyone keeps talking about, Joe Ross. There's no way that's what his name is. Anyways, all the like Sandy Alcantara, all the guys that you thought might have been on the move, like the AL so bad, they might just not move them. That's the issue that we're
Joe Ryan.
Ryan, that's what it is. I knew it was a two first name situation, which is common in baseball. That is a situation where I go like, oh, they might be reading the market and just going, we need to improve on the margins, which is a classic Brewers issue. I did want to bring up, I don't know if you remember, wasn't Mark Antanasio on record last year saying that, like, oh, the money that they're going to spend this year is going to be spent no matter what? I think there was like a guy, they were talking about like contracts, and they were like, if we get a rental, it, like, those immediate financials don't really affect the long-term picture of the Brewers. So if they choose to spend that money, they're happy to spend that money. And I think these types of trades just kind of lend that idea where it's like, they're happy to take on contracts, even though they don't offer big time contracts, because this money is going to get used, absorbed in whatever plan they already have. It's been greenlit. Like, the lack of the risk reward is so immediate that these are the types of like bolder risks I think they're willing to take. Bolder being in quotations, because like we said, I think if Jaden Fielder can somehow make his way to a major league roster, would it have been a feel-good story to be the Brewers? Is it a feel-good story watching Prince Fielder and CeCe Sabathia talking about how both of their sons are in the Brewers minor leagues? Absolutely. But like, right. I don't know if Fielder even makes his way to AAA the way he's kind of panning out. I mean, he might, just given the fact that what name is on the back of the jersey, but he was never going to be a guy that factored into the Brewers at all. So to have a move on right now, it's sentimental at best. So
yeah, that wasn't a name that I think anyone was going to be really upset about, beyond just the fact that it's Prince's kid, right? That was essentially it. I'm absolutely fine with this. I think the conversation, and we can touch on it very quickly here, is this it? Like, we're here going, are they going to go all in? Are they going to do it? Or is this it? Is this the move that the Brewers do of just getting some mediocre arms on a deal? Because this doesn't make you excited. Yep. Going, holy crap, yep, the Brewers are going for it.
Well, yeah, it can't really get you excited because, like, as of right now, it doesn't change your roster at all. Neither of these guys are going to be pitching for the Brewers probably in the next couple series. I mean, I could be totally off base with McCullers, but they're talking about how he's going to be flying on Thursday or he would have already flown to the Brewers, Milwaukee specifically, to talk about like this series. But it's like, he's probably not going to pitch the series. He hasn't pitched since May. So it's like, this move doesn't affect the Brewers, but they also didn't give any pieces that affect this Brewers. So it's just kind of like Brewers doing Brewersy things in the background. So I hope it's not the only move. That should be obvious. I don't know if either of these things are really kind of going to get you over the hump, but I think it more speaks holistically to this idea that, like, Matt Ryan made a couple moves this offseason that they didn't make at all last year by, like, signing Luis, trading all of our left field of the infield at the same time. So I think it's just, I think Matt Arnold's making the moves he wants to make whenever he can make them. And I think that's really what this is. So,
yeah, I don't know that we're going to see either of these guys in an all-star game anytime soon, but it doesn't matter because guys that should be there, we also didn't see in the all-star game. We'll talk about the MLB all-star game when we come back on Don't Tell Me How to Fan. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody, to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is John Taylor. That's Josh Albrecht, back here in our second segment. Josh,
yeah,
All-Star Week, Week, right? Yeah. How much did you watch? What did you think? What's your Mount Rushmore of takes this year for the All-Star break?
Wow, so many great questions and setups there, John.
Just kind of take that wherever you want,
First of all, I think of all of the All-Star weekends You know, it wasn't a weekend because they do it on a Monday, Tuesday. Baseball is the biggest and most secure, and I still think it's at risk. But the problem was, and I'm going to get your take on this. First of all, I always have loved the home run derby. To me, the home run derby has always been like a fun event. I used to always watch it with my dad. We would always watch the home run derby together, and it didn't matter who was in. It was just like a fun thing. And I feel like part of that was maybe just like our millennial lives of like growing up and watching those superstars in baseball. And maybe it was also because we didn't care as much about the Brewers because the Brewers sucked in the 90s, right? Like they weren't anything to write home about. And so it just, it made it to where it was like, hey, this is something we can see the best of the best on a stage, knowing it's not our guys, right? And while I did think the home run derby was okay, there were not enough well-known names. I did like the format. I like the format this year. I like that they went back to a non-timed event. I hated that it was like it didn't matter how far the ball traveled. You just needed to get it out. So batters were having more compact swings that just went like over the wall, right? They didn't try to like just crank it back, which this is an exhibition entertainment event. That's exactly what I want to see. I want to see you hit a ball 500 feet, like jack one out of here.
Yeah.
And so
we want dingers.
We want dingers. And so that was, I like to see that they had time to wait on a pitch and then really smack it out of there. That was great. The All-Star game for me was more of the problem. And really it came down to, I just felt like, at least with started, there just weren't enough teams represented. It really just seemed like it was the Yankees and Blue Jays against the Braves, Phillies, Dodgers. Okay. So 5 teams representing the All-Star game. Cool. Now I know that, Skeens didn't pitch. Miz didn't pitch. I know that there were, people that sat out. They chose to sit out. It wasn't even the team decision. I get all that, but it doesn't change the fact that the product on the field was less enjoyable. It for the nostalgia in me of wanting to see, oh, this is the best guy on the Reds. Oh, this is the best guy on the Marlins. Like whatever, take your pick. Like I missed that this year. And I worried, okay, is this going to be the start of where now they change it again to something else? I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really watch much of either. This is such a boomer take, but when All-Star games stopped having official stakes in the season, it just created an inferior product. And I'm not saying that like it needs to be home field advantage or home court advantage for the NBA All-Star game, but like I don't know what the stakes are that you need to have these players excited. I don't know what kind of rules. Like pitching is so challenging. I understand, like you need to maximize everyone's ability, but like there's 162 games. Here's a crazy thought: shave 10 of those off and have 5 days off before the All-Star break and 5 days off after, so we can actually get the game's best pitchers. Like the fact that Mizorowski didn't pitch in the All-Star game is absolutely criminal, and it's no one's fault, but it is criminal. You know what I'm saying? Like and I didn't abstain from watching it for that reason, but I turn it on. Christopher Sanchez, a guy who robbed him of the Player of the Month award, which doesn't matter, but he got pieced up immediately, and they just never really climbed out of that hole. He got blown up right before, and it's not like the Brewers draped themselves in glory, losing to the Pirates for the 20th season in a row, leading into the All-Star break. But it just speaks this tradition. I've dubbed that the All-Star Series. And you can abbreviate that in your heads, but that's how that weekend was. It was the All-Star Series.
Yep.
I don't know. These guys are fatigued. I know they want the break. If they're truly just like going to end up coming back right into the season and they're protecting that time off, then I just think like there's so much time in the season. Like, let's just give them more time on and off, but like, let's get the festivities back. So, I agree with you about it just being I mean, I think fan voting needs to go away like almost immediately.
That's my big thing was the fan voting, right? Like that was a big change. And I had people that said, the response was, all right, well, Josh, how much did you vote? Did you vote? Like you're complaining, but what did you do? And I was like, you're right. I didn't vote.
Yeah.
But I also wish that other people couldn't vote. Why is it up to us? Why is it a fan thing?
Yeah.
It's just
and why is it a popularity contest in these towns that are major cities? Like I guess like it's gonna be tough for the Brewers to get guys anywhere. But when a city the size of Philly can rally around most of their guys who are studs at the positions that they play in, whether they're playing well or not, you can always like loosely kind of make the case, which obviously like pretty much just pokes the holes and the flaws in the way that works. Like, and I know they don't necessarily generate the starting lineup, but like, how did Bryce Terang not even sniff an all-star appearance? Like, that's crazy to me. That's absolutely absurd to me, Well,
a lot of people agreed. And the thing is that like it's more than just even being there. Okay, so you had Contreras, he had one at bat. Contreras got one at bat. So, that's the other thing that gets me. All right. So you are in this game having a team that's leading the division, second place in all of the majors at the time, have one person represented in the game, and that person gets one at bat. Like, again, if this is, to your point, when you talked about if this is for home field advantage, sure, then maybe as the manager, you're like, this isn't about everyone getting a turn. This is about us trying to win. We need to win this game. And sorry, bud, you're here for that reason, just because you needed to be.
And that context would feel good. Don't mean to jump in, but like that would make me feel good. It's like, great, Contreras. I don't know what to tell you. Like, anyways, yeah.
So and so it's just that changes things. That's not the case though. This is purely entertainment. No stakes, nothing on the line at all besides pride. And yet you're not even making it to where a team that I understand small market, but looking at what they do, like it's literally the whole point of it is to celebrate the success of the best players.
Yep. And
the best players on the best team had one person there who got one at bat.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I think like I kind of wonder too, and I this is my first time like kind of like thinking about this, but it's like, should the votes count? Like, should they be weighted more for teams with better records too? Like in the selection process, like so I'm saying, like Bryce Terang is probably our best offensive player, not named Jake Bauers, insane snub, but that would make sense to me. Like Bryce Terang went intergalactic in terms of steps forward, right? Like monster step forward, like was the star of the US like World Baseball Classic team. Like, what more does this guy need to do to be on this? And I understand that some other second basemen are great, but it's like, to your point, like we have the second best record in the NL, third best record in baseball, right? Or maybe the second best record in baseball, I think, at this point. Either way, the Brewers were fantastic going into the All-Star break. How are we not giving shine to the teams that are these players are playing on too? It's like, how can the Brewers have their best start? Everyone can agree they're legitimate World Series contenders. And besides like an inning interview with Jacob Mizrowski and that one William Contreras at bat, like what's the conversation about the Brewers at the All-Star break? It's like what, the Charizard glove? It's just corny non-starter stuff. And I am curious about your thought about like, do you think why are we doing it by position anyways? Like all of the infield can play all over the infield. All of the outfield can play all over the outfield. Jake Bauers goes into the outfield. Like, you're telling me these guys can't play an exhibition game? If there's no stakes, like why are we limiting players to their position? Like maybe Bryce Terang, if you wanted to make an argument, was the third best second baseman in the NL, but you're not going to tell me that some of the other guys that made that team, and I don't have the full roster, but it's like he should have been selected over what? A second or third first baseman that made it. Like some of this stuff, it doesn't have to be so hard. And if they're going to make it so fan focused, then they should just really be putting the best guys out there. Hell, put Bryce in the outfield in the 8th inning. I don't really care. Like, let's make a real spectacle of it. If it's going to turn into Savannah ball, banana balls.
Which hell, hey, maybe that's what happens next. Maybe the
Maybe they
All-Star
should.
game just becomes
Maybe
Banana Bowl.
maybe the NL versus Savannah Bananas and
Yeah, who knows? But I do think that there's something to be said about the, just how that all works, because the fan vote doesn't count for pitching. It's literally just position players. So they already said, all right, we'll let the position players part be messed up, but not the pitchers. Pitchers we're still going to be in control of, because we want to make sure that the best pitchers are out there. But for position players, yeah, we'll let the people that don't know the right way to make an all-star game be in control. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And now I could just be here saying that because I'm biased towards the Milwaukee Brewers and the Brewers representation in the All-Star game. And I wouldn't deny that. Yeah, sure. But it's not like there were 9 teams fully represented and the Brewers just weren't one of them. There were 3 teams on the NL side and essentially less on the AL side. It seemed there were a ton of Yankees.
Yeah.
All the runs came via Yankees in the game. So it ruins the idea of why an all-star game should exist. And it's bad, in my opinion, it's bad for the sport.
Yeah.
The all-star game is one of the main times where you don't have to have it be Dodgers Yankees. When the Dodgers and the Yankees face each other, by all means. When it's the Yankees Red Sox, by all means, you can put that on prime time. You can promote it everywhere. Go ahead. Absolutely. Sure. The All-Star game is supposed to be the one time when it's not so team-oriented and it's player-oriented. And so you can see the best from all the teams. And the fact that, like, there wasn't a cutoff, like, maybe that should be it. It should be like, you can't have more than 3 guys from a team on a roster. You can't have 6 Dodgers. You have 3.
Well, what I was going to say, if we're just, I mean, I guess I'm the only one that's pitching changes, but it's like maybe the first place team does get 5, second place team does get 4, third place gets 3, and at some point you drop down to 1. You know what I mean? Like if people are like, I can't believe this is the All-Star game, be like, this is the state of the MLB right now. Like, these are the guys winning baseball games. Like, what are we talking about here? And I know it's like part of it is individual performance, but like baseball is, it needs, like you said, more shine on the players that just aren't the ones. Like, when was the last time the Brewers were on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN? It's been like years. You know what I mean? So it's like these guys just aren't getting shine. And it's like if they can't get into the All-Star break on the merits of their play when they're the second best team, everyone agree. You know, I've already belabored all the points. It's just like, it's what we needed Gumby to throw 110 miles per hour and William Contreras to just like not be average. Awful. And those are the guys that got chosen. It's just like, give me a break. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. So, no, it's a very valid point. And yet now we move on because the All-Star break's over and we have to just continue showing the rest of the country and the world why the Brewers are where they are. When we get back, we're going to jump into our thoughts and concerns, if there are any, and hopes for the Milwaukee Brewers in the second half of the season. We will cover that when we come back on Don't Tell Me How to Fan. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Don't Tell Me How to Fan. I'm Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my good friend, John Taylor. We just got done talking about and essentially complaining about how things went with the All-Star game. And now we turn our attention to what happens next with the Milwaukee Brewers through the rest of the season. Obviously, very high expectations, very high aspirations for this team. They've put themselves in a position to be able to do that. Did not like the way it ended, right? A lot of people, not me, but a lot of people saying they're going to get to 60 wins. They assume there's no way that they were going to get swept by the Pirates. And then that's exactly what happened. A lot of things went rough in that series. First, you had the rain out. Then you had the doubleheader that Ashby gives up on the Grand Slam. Then you have them just essentially all fall apart offensively in game 2 of the doubleheader. They lose 3-2. And then you get ready for Ms. Skeens Part 2, and then it gets announced Miz is out, Gasper's in, and then from that, they just get clobbered. And
one of the worst fourth innings in memory. Yeah.
Correct. And then that's how you end the first half going into the All-Star break. And I know we joke and we say, yep, it's the Pirates, and you know, there's no team harder against the Brewers than the Pirates before the All-Star break. It's just a tale as old as time. But if you think
The
about
All-Star Series, baby, the ASS leading
that's
into
right. You're like, that needs to catch on. That's what it was.
I needed to catch on.
Yeah.
Yes.
But now I'm thinking like, all right, now it's time to get back to it. They had the break. They have this plan. But I think it's important that we set expectations for what we not only what we want, but what should be happening, what we should be setting the goalpost at for this team over the next couple of months. So, John, what is the number one thing that you're looking for improvement from the team?
Number one thing I'm looking for improvement. I mean, it's obvious. It's an obvious answer, but I think it's just power from our bats. Like, I think like Jake Bauers has been a revelation. He's going to hit 20 home runs this season. I wouldn't have guessed it. Churio is injured and he's doing his part, but he's been slumping a little bit lately. And he's been hitting for contact, and that's great. I'm so happy Garrett Mitchell has played as many games this season as he has, like the last 3 years combined. And like, there's so much power in that bat. But they need, if they're not going to trade to get a bat in this lineup, they need William Contreras to hit home runs. They need Andrew Vaughn to hit home runs. He's been hitting well. He's got to find that power. And I don't know if he's going to be able to find that this offseason, but power in the bats by any means necessary. Like, this is that conversation where, hey, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but it's like, if Christian Yelich needs to find himself on some phantom 60 days to get some other pieces into looking at, like, I just don't know how Yelich swings his way back into power. And I just don't think that's coming anytime soon. And it's been declining. And so this doesn't need to be another Yelly rehatch, because I feel like we do it a lot. It's just been really disappointing to see injuries not be the reason. I think that he's not playing well. His bat speed's down. He's just like not hammering the ball like he used to. And I do think it's age related. I think their power offensively, like their pitching is getting tired. I don't even think they're injuries, but they're getting fatigued. Like, you're going to watch a Brewers team that is more comfortable. And this may be a question you have later, but like, we need to recalibrate. They are officially gaming the rest of this season out. Like, they're not going to go in trying to sweep every series. Like, you're going to see a lot of hilarious Sunday Murph lineups. And I don't think he's going to be putting in pitchers to win those games. Like, I think they're going to be happy winning series 2-1. They're going to go on road trips and they're going to hope that they go like 6-10. Like, you're going to start watching this club be managed with the thought of, how do we get our guys rested and in better positions to be able to perform later in the season. And I don't think a trade necessarily fixes that, but if to answer your question, it's power. And I'm sorry for taking such a long.
No, that's okay, because that brought me to another question of just because I agree with you. I think that the move, and if it's not the move, it should be the move of the plane is in the air. They did exactly what they needed to in the first half. Now, can they coast? Can they coast and get healthy, knowing that they went balls out just as hard as they can, win, and then completely fell apart in the playoffs? Mindset changed. They focus on no fatigue, not being worn out, being completely healthy as much as they can, going into the postseason as the main factor. Can they coast and still win the division and win it, hopefully, while retaining home field advantage? Can they do that if they don't have these pieces, if they rest and coast? That kind of becomes a question. I'm not going to lie. If they were up, and this is just, who knows, but to me, this is just baseball. If they were up 8 or 9 games on the Cubs, I'd feel a lot better than 5. And I know that that's silly because there's so much time for baseball left. But knowing that the Cubs are only 5 games behind, knowing that the Brewers got swept going into it, I just feel like there's also risk involved with the Brewers going, all right, we have 2.5 months to get through. Can we do that without losing this to the Cubs? Because if they do this trying to coast, thinking they have it in the bag, and they don't, oh my God, can you imagine if this completely falls apart?
Yeah, it'd be terrible. I mean, they can strategically change the way they view this. Like, 5 games is a healthy enough lead that if they keep winning series, this Cubs team is talented. I hate to say it, they are. their injuries to their starting pitching is why they have suffered the amount of failure that they have this season. By and large, should have been closer. Like the Cubs should be a bigger threat to the Brewers than they have been, and there's so much baseball left that I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. The problem is that like if the Cubs go make some trades to acquire pitching, they're going to be a team that's going to be a problem. So all of this is to say that you're right. Like the Brewers cannot lose the Central this year. I just think like when we're talking about their aspirations, like I get so nervous about the Brewers having to play an extra series. Like, we were staring down that 3-game potential when the Braves were doing what the Braves were doing, but it's like, it's very obvious the wheels have fallen off on them. Like it is the Dodgers and the Brewers. The problem is that the Cubs are actually probably closer to being a threat than the Braves are. They just can't get home field advantage in the first round because of where the Brewers are currently positioned. So it's definitely it's not great. It's definitely something that I wouldn't say I consistently think about. If the Brewers do what the Brewers need to do, they'll still win the Central. Like I firmly believe that. But
even if they win the Central, that doesn't mean that they won't have to play an extra series.
Oh, right. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
They need to be one of the top 2 teams. Otherwise, they're still in a wild card series.
Right. I think, I just don't, I think the East is going to sort itself out a little harder, I guess is my point. But you're right. I mean, they're I think
you're essentially saying beat the Cubs, you get one of the top 2 spots.
I think whoever wins the NL Central will be the 2 seed. I guess that is how I view the rest of the season. Okay. And that's not to say that couldn't change either. Like, trust me, there's over 70 games of baseball left. Like it's not over by a long shot. So, the Brewers need to act that way. Matt Arnold needs to trade that way. It might not look like an all-star, but they are going to, I think, to the point of the first segment, like it might not be a splashy thing, but I think they're going to cycle in guys. I think they're going to like cycle in guys to get guys rest, to get guys sent down, to rearrange and remove and move and all of those things. Because I think like I do genuinely believe that this team is positioning itself the way it can to go all in for a World Series push. Does that land you a Tariq Skubal? I don't know. I don't think it does. But I definitely see them being more aggressive than they have in the past. I definitely don't think they're going to sell. They're not going to trade anybody we weren't expecting. We're having conversations heading into the regular season saying like, oh, Trevor McGill's probably not long for this world once Freddie Peralta got moved. And it's like, he's been a revelation. I mean, he's figured his curveball out. He's bullying guys with his fastball. Like Ashby, I think is like a guy who just needs a break. I know he likes to pitch a lot and I know Murphy loves him, but like, boy, oh boy, has he lost. His stuff is not as special as it was. And I truly just think it's usage. Wins be damned. I don't care. Like, this is all those fun stats. It's like when he's pitching well, it's super fun. When he's not pitching well, I'm going, why is he getting used so much? Why are we always seeing him? And like, those are the types of moves I'd love to see too, is just getting like the bullpen a little more bolstered. So,
yeah. All right. So how do you, that's kind of our hopes. How do you see the Brewers going now? Do you see them, you talked about an all-in move. Do you see them making a bigger splash? Do you see them making maybe just another move like this? I definitely don't think they're definitely not sellers, right? It's just how much are they pushing the chips in the rest of the way, and what does that move look like?
I think I'm hoping for like a medium-sized splash. Like there's definitely going to be some teams that are selling. I don't know if they're going to move their aces, but I definitely think like this is how I'm thinking. Like if you can just get, and I said it already on this episode, but like if you could get your this year's Quintana or Montas, you have to do it. Like you just have to do it. I don't know if McCullers is that guy. I think if you could get another McCullers and double your chances, you should do that. Like these are the types of moves where it's like I don't even necessarily need it to be one swing. But kind of like how, and this is going to be great because it's probably the only time we talk about the Brewers, or the Packers, shout out to the McDuffie extension. But if you can do like a Gutekunst style, like attack the draft, just bring in like 2 or 3 starting like 1 or 2 starting, 2 or 3 is insane. A couple pitchers, bring in a couple bats, whether it's calling up but just, I just want to see them throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Right. And I think like, they've afforded themselves this opportunity to at least try to do that. If it was a closer race, you kind of just have to keep your head down. If we were only up 1 or 2 games on the Cubs, you kind of don't have that luxury. But I think they're in a spot where they'll still win games and they can still improve. And so I'm hoping for a medium splash. Bring Freddie Peralta back, for crying out loud. The Mets aren't going to pay him. You could send them a worser version of Sproat, and they'd maybe even take it just to move on.
Do you think they do that to admit, like, I mean, they do that. They're admitting, like, we lost his trade.
They're going to try to get something back for Freddie. And Freddie's pitched poorly enough as a Met that I could see a lot of teams being like, we know you don't want him. You're not signing him, right? The reason why the Mets acquired him was because they thought he was going to be a stud. They have the cap to offer him a contract. He has not pitched well enough to offer the contract he thought he was going to get. He might find himself on another like year-long rehab assignment, or just start fresh with a new organization. So why wouldn't the Mets wash their hands of that if they could recoup an asset or two? You know what I mean? So why not have it be the Brewers? Do I think that's going to be the case? No, but I would love a Freddie Peralta type, somebody who you thought was an ace, isn't. Come back home.
Come
back home, Freddie.
Right. Yeah. But if they do that, you're thinking they bring that guy back as a starter, right? Like they're not going to bring Freddie in and throw him in the pen.
No, he would. I mean, he would beat out Sproat. His stuff is better than Sproat. His stuff is better than Drohan, which I think he's due to probably get shoved back into the bullpen. He probably beats out Logan Henderson.
I feel like Drohan's pitched very well in the time that
and that's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's just the way he pitches. He's shown he can do it out of the bullpen. And when you start crowding starting pitching the way they are, it's an easy lever to pull. Just send him back. You know what I mean? So, he's going to get moved to the bullpen no matter what the starter is. I mean, if everyone's healthy, I don't think he stays in the rotation. Like, I just don't see how you do that. So,
yeah. Well, I will tell you this. I think that they will make a move. I do not think it's going to be a big move. And I think they weren't wanting to make a move. I think that Matt Arnold really went into this going, we have so many guys that we're ready to, as you said, kind of just throw against the wall and see who sticks. And they've been it's been unfortunate, the timing to bring those guys up. There just hasn't been the right time for a lot of them. I think that Jet Williams was supposed to be there. I think he would have gotten his shot before the All-Star break. But he had a wrist injury. And it was like, okay. And I just think that the Brewers have run into either injuries with guys in the minors or just guys underperforming in the minors where they went, this guy's struggling in AAA. We're absolutely not bringing him up to the majors. That's not going to fix anything. That's not how that works. And so I think that the idea that they had of doing what the Brewers usually do, saying, well, we didn't trade for someone, but we brought someone up or we got someone back from injury, right? That's what they say. Like, that's how we got better at the trade deadline. I just feel like that plan's not necessarily going according to plan this season. So I think that they will make a move, but I don't know necessarily that Matt Arnold wanted to make a move. I will be very interested to see how that works. I'm more excited than anything, John, that baseball's back, that the Brewers are back playing meaningful baseball. We made it through the driest week in the sports calendar, and we can start caring about meaningful baseball again. And before we know it, they're going to be practicing football.
Training camp
next week.
Yep.
Very, very excited for all of that. Very excited to talk with you and all of our wonderful followers and listeners of Don't Tell Me How to Fan. We appreciate you very much. And please tune in next time because we are not done yet.